Hey, my name is Angaangaq, and it means the man who looks like his uncle. I was named after my father's older brother. His name is Koyagi, which means the beloved one. But he was named after his uncle Angaangaq, who was named after his uncle Koyagi. And so we go really long ways back. We just don't know how long. But now we have learned that my father's mother and her families had been living in the same village for more than 5,000 years. So that's where I come from. I come from Greenland. The, the village of my grandmother is about a kilometer just west of the big ice. But when I came to visit her land, the wall of the big ice was more 1,500 meters. Now she's less than 50 meters because of the change of climate and the big ice melting. And that little river, which comes from the big ice, most of the summers now, she will carry more than 1 million liters per second of melting ice water. So that particular part of the land is now the UNESCO Heritage Land in honor of my grandmother, which makes me really happy. But the beautiful thing about it, though, is that this is the only land on earth where people live where there has never been war. And the University of Fairbanks in Alaska, in Fairbanks, they were studying the crust of the earth to find which is the oldest part of earth. And one day they came down from the mountains and joined the elders, and they were leaving, and they were telling us that their research led them to realize that this mountain of the black face, is the oldest crust of earth. I don't know how they can count so far back, but so I live on that land, which is the oldest crust of earth and which had never known war. So that's who I am and where I come from.
That we are connected with animals and nature, but many people are connected in a somewhat loose way. So how do you see our connection with nature and animals should be, or how do you perceive that?
So now I'm the oldest one, so it is now my land, which I have to take care of for the rest of the generations to come. It's right at the edge of the hunting grounds. And it's so interesting because the caribou and the musk oxen migrate from the south and to go north. And then on the other side of the mountain with the blackface, there's a big valley down there where they give birth. They used to give birth on our land, but because of climate change, they moved further north because the plants started to grow and blossom before the babies are born, baby animals are born. So they had to adjust. So they went further north to be able to give birth when the buds are just opening up. It's so interesting to watch them, how the adaptability of the animal world to the change of earth, which you and I, we will have a hard time with. We don't pay attention to the animal world, and we don't pay attention to the plant world. we really need to pay attention to not only to ourselves, not only to the animal world, not only to the plant world, not only to the mineral world, but the elements we live with, or the water, or the fire, and the winds. And the winds brings rain, snow, ice pellets, and everything which the Arctic brings. So it's so important. And I realized that we are so far apart with our animal world. And if you go to Europe, the animal world is mostly in dogs and cats. And then cows and pigs and chicken. That's most of the animals we know in Europe, not realizing the animal world is enormous. Literally, it's so interesting. In our tradition, we call the animal world the swimming ones, the crawling ones, the walking ones, and the flying ones. Those are the 4 levels of animal world we live with. So it's so interesting to realize how the interrelationship of all the animals around us. One cannot exist without the other.
What you mentioned in relation with climate change, but also losing species around the world, biodiversity loss. I think that part of that impact is because of we losing our relationship with animals and with nature. So how do you see that? Do you think that's really one of the causes of having all the detrimental effects we see on the environment, so that our connectiveness with animals and with nature is somewhat being lost? And the next question would then be, how should we then restore it? To what extent can we restore our connectiveness with nature and with animals? Is that possible?
The animal world is really big. There's only 4 races of human world. In the east, when the sun comes, it's always yellow. So we have yellow people on this earth. In the south, when sun shines highest upon us, the sun is always white. So we have white people on this earth. In the west, when the sun sets, it's always red. So we have red people, and I'm one of them. And at night, it's always black. So we have black people. So that's the 4 races. And we cannot live without nature. But now we have so many of us that we have depleted the nature which our body, our mind, our spirit needs. And in that nature, there used to be wild animals, which are our teachers. But they cannot teach us anymore in Europe. We really need to restore Mother Nature for the sake of us and the animals. I'm very happy to know that wild boar is coming back in Europe, followed by the wolf. That's very good. But because we are so many, that the wolf is not walking freely. Wild boar is not walking freely. So we have long ways to go to reintroduce nature as it used to be, and then bring back that diversity of the plant which the animals needs. And then you and I learning to walk with them. So we have many ways to do things differently, because our grandchildren need the nature and the inhabitants of that nature, which is the animal world. We have killed the diversity of animals. And because of climate change, the insects are dying. And of course, when insects die, how can the flowers become flowers? It's impossible for this to become living and regenerates without the insects. And then I walked down there and I watched a wolf walking by. I don't go and greet him or greet her, but I touched my heart that she came to bless me with her presence. So that's what we do, because I realized growing up and understand that I cannot live without the animal world. So I touch my heart greeting them and thank them. And I do my best not to disturb them. And in Europe, we don't do that. We don't honor the animal world. We don't even really see them. Or when we see them, we scare them away. Instead of respectfully just observing it. So the animal can live in peace. Animal needs that Mother Nature. Mother Nature needs that animal. You and I, we need nature, and we need the animal world. But we are in such a big distance now. So my father, when I took him to Arctic Canada, he loved the taste of caribou and the mock oxen. It was very different. They were much more tender and delicious because they had to constantly run from the wolves. So they get exercised. And we don't do that with the cows in Europe or the pigs. They have become lazy animals because they don't have any enemies except the slaughterhouse. So then Europeans eat pigs and the cows, which are lazy. But if you go to Arizona, southwestern Arizona, North Mexico, and southeastern California, you meet wild cows which have escaped from the farms. And the Pima people, the native people of that area, they love hunting these cows because they are so tasty, because they are wild. They are very different animals when they are wild, because they're no longer lazy. They had to run away from the wolves and the coyotes and from the humans. But when you hunt them respectfully and you eat that meat, it's much, much healthier than the cows of Europe.
Them. And I found it very funny that nowadays science is trying to prove that animals have emotions, that animals have their own thoughts. And for me, that's nothing new because everybody that looks at animals or owns an animal, if you talk about pets, they experience that. So isn't it funny that current science is trying to prove that animals have certain emotions and certain feelings, while you are just saying that, well, you connect all the time with animals?
Yeah, so the animal world is like that. They have emotions just like you and I. But when you respectfully just observe them, they accept you. I don't do sudden movements to scare them. I don't speak loud to the musk oxen. They can hear everything. But when you stand there respectfully and just observe them, they can see you and we begin to connect to each other. And that's when you can begin to talk. When the eagle flies over you, when you talk to that eagle, she will always speak back. That's her nature. And it's so amazing to observe her coming down to visit. It's so amazing to watch falcon, mother teaching the babies to fly way up there and then stand still like that. And then teaching them to fall down, and few meters before they hit the ground, they get up. To observe them is so amazing. To be part of that animal world shows such a gift to us. So what should we do? Yes, we should create more parks for the animals. We should begin to invite them back into our world. But this time, we need to do it differently than we have done. We have to be more respectful and recognizing that humans cannot live with the animal without the animal world. Not everything can be hunted. Not everything should be hunted. No, everything should be done respectfully with a ceremony. So, and our ceremony is that when we meet the animal, we touch our heart and say thank you. And the animal can feel it. That's the beautiful thing about it. This is my dream. The name is Pilaut, which means an instrument from the great sky. Oh, oh, Dank je wel.